My name is Justin Thorne. I'm 34 years old, a seasoned architect specializing in historical restorations, and a man who once believed in the unshakable foundation of his marriage. That belief shattered one frosty December evening at Sterling Development's annual holiday gala. I stood near the ornate buffet table, a glass of champagne growing warm in my hand, when I saw my wife of 9 years, Sarah, slip into the private study with her boss, Marcus Thornino relation. Thankfully, or the irony would have been unbearable. Through the narrow crack in the study door, their silhouettes merged, their lips met, a long, lingering kiss. Their hands, normally reserved, explored each other with a frantic urgency that sent a jolt of ice through my veins. My champagne flute nearly imploded in my grip. 9 years. 9 years of shared dreams. A beautiful 6-year-old son, Leo, tucked safely at home with a babysitter. And Sarah, my Sarah, was discarding it all, right before my eyes. I was Justin Thorne, a man who meticulously planned and executed the restoration of crumbling historical landmarks, bringing them back to their former glory. What I hadn't planned for was the complete collapse of my own life, right here in the gilded halls of Sterling Development. "You all right, man? You look like you've seen a ghost." My colleague Mark, Sarah's coworker, clapped me on the back, jolting me from my stupor. I forced a smile, my jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. "Just not feeling well. Think I might head out." "Oh, Sarah just told me you guys were staying till the end," Mark said, a puzzled frown on his face. Of course she did. Sarah had plans tonight that didn't involve me going home early. "Changed my mind," I muttered, downing the rest of my champagne. In my younger, wilder days, fresh out of design school, I would have kicked that door in. I would have dragged Marcus Thorne, the high and mighty CEO of Sterling Development, out by his expensive silk tie and rearranged his perfectly manicured face right there on the polished mahogany floor. I almost did. My body actually moved toward the study before my brain, scarred by a previous incident that nearly cost me my career, caught up. But at 34, with a son I adored and a reputation to protect, I knew better. Violence would cost me everything. My freedom, my burgeoning architectural firm, and most importantly, Leo. And Sarah? It was becoming terrifyingly clear that I'd already lost her. So I walked out, grabbed my coat, stepped into the biting December air of New York City, and drove home in a stunned silence, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. The festive holiday lights adorning brownstones on our street seemed to mock me as I pulled into our driveway. "Mr. Thorne," our teenage babysitter Emily called from next door. "You're early. Leo's already asleep." I paid her extra and sent her home. Then I sat in our living room, shrouded in darkness, surrounded by family photos and wedding memories, and I waited. I waited for 3 agonizing hours. When Sarah finally came home, she was humming. Actually humming, as she hung up her designer coat. "Justin, why are you sitting in the dark?" She flipped on the light, and I saw her then, lipstick slightly smudged, hair not quite as neat as when she left home. "Had a headache," I said flatly. "Party end early?" "No, it was still going when I left. I told you not to wait up." She wasn't even trying to hide it. "Well, Marcus needed help organizing some files for the Olympus project. You know how important that account is." "Marcus, huh? Not Mr. Thorne anymore?" Something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe. Fear. But she recovered quickly. "We've been working closely on this project. The whole office is on a first-name basis now." I could have confronted her right then, could have told her what I saw, but a strange calm had settled over me, a clarity I hadn't felt in years. "I'm going to bed," was all I said. That night, lying beside my unfaithful wife, I didn't sleep. I planned. The next morning, I was in my studio before dawn. Our detached garage, which I'd converted years ago into my sanctuary, smelled of blueprints and fresh coffee. Usually, it brought me peace. Today, it fueled my focus. "Daddy, what are you making?" Leo's voice came from the doorway. My beautiful son, blonde hair tousled from sleep, curious eyes, so much like his mother's, it almost hurt to look at him. "Hey, sweetheart, just working on some ideas," I smiled, putting down my pencil. I'd been sketching plans for a restoration project, not for a client, but for myself. "Can I help?" He was already reaching for his little architectural apron, a miniature version of mine I'd made him last Christmas. Always. I lifted him onto my drafting table. "Want to help me roll these plans while you work?" While he worked, Tongue sticking out in concentration, I thought about Sarah, about Marcus, about what I was going to do. Sarah appeared in the doorway an hour later, coffee mug in hand. There, you two are. Leo, breakfast is ready. 5 more minutes, Mom. I'm helping Daddy. Sarah sighed. Justin, he's getting graphite all over his pajamas. He's fine, Sarah. We're bonding. We'll bond over breakfast. We're meeting my parents at 11, remember? I had forgotten. Sunday brunch with the in-laws. The thought of sitting across from Sarah's father, who had always looked at me like I wasn't quite good enough for his daughter, while pretending everything was normal, made my stomach churn. You go ahead, I said. Tell them I'm finishing up an emergency job. Sarah's eyes narrowed. On Sunday? What emergency job? The Olympus project. I threw her own lie back at her. You know how important that account is. She flinched just slightly. Fine. Come on, Leo. After they left, I made some calls. First to my buddy Daniel, who worked at a prestigious investment bank, then to Robert Vance, a commercial real estate agent I'd done some consulting work for last year. By noon, I had an appointment to view a property the following day. Dan, I need to talk business, man, I said when he picked up. On a Sunday? This sounds serious, Daniel replied. Dead serious. I need to set up a separate account and possibly secure a substantial line of credit. Business expansion. Finally going out on your own? About time. Sarah on board with this? I paused, choosing my words carefully. This is my project. Sarah's got her own career priorities right now. Daniel was silent for a moment. Everything okay with you two? Just meet me at the Blueprint Bistro tomorrow morning before work, I said, avoiding the question. I'll fill you in. That night, I searched our home office while Sarah was bathing Leo. Her phone was charging on the desk. For a moment, I considered checking it. The messages between her and Marcus would surely be there, but I didn't need to see more evidence of her betrayal. Instead, I looked through the sterling development files she occasionally brought home. What I found confirmed my suspicions. Duplicate invoices, one for the client showing premium, historically accurate materials, another for the supplier showing cheaper, modern substitutions. Permit applications with falsified historical preservation statements. Structural integrity reports signed off by the same person every time. Someone named Victor Stone. I took pictures with my phone, then carefully returned everything exactly as I'd found it. Knowledge was power, and I intended to be very powerful indeed. The building was a wreck. A historic Beaux Arts structure in a forgotten corner of the city, abandoned for years. Peeling facade, crumbling cornices, buckled floors. Most people would see a money pit. I saw potential. I saw my future. You sure about this, Justin? Robert asked as we stood in what was once a grand reception hall. This place needs everything. That's exactly why I want it. I ran my hand along the original marble pilaster. Good bones, history, character, and most importantly, nobody else wants it. Well, the price is right, I'll give you that. The city's practically giving it away to avoid maintaining it. By the end of the week, I'd secured a line of credit and bought the property. Sarah was furious when I told her. You did what? She shrieked, pacing our kitchen. We can barely afford this mortgage and you bought another building without even talking to me? It's an investment, I said calmly. I'm going to restore it and flip it. With what time? You're already working 60 hours a week. I'll manage. I took a sip of my coffee. Besides, I thought you'd be happy having me out of your hair more often. Her eyes flashed. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that you seem to be working late a lot yourself these days. How's the Olympus project going? Marcus still needing a lot of private help? The color drained from her face. I don't know what you're implying, but I don't like your tone. And I don't like coming second to your boss, but here we are. She slammed her hand on the counter. This is about your ego, isn't it? You can't stand that I'm building a career while you're still drawing blueprints for old buildings? That stung, but I didn't let it show. If that's what you think this is about, you don't know me at all. Maybe I don't, she snapped. Maybe I never did. The argument ended there, but something had shifted between us. The pretense was cracking, and in a way, it was a relief. That night, after Sarah went to bed, I made another call. This one to an old college buddy, David Miller, who now worked for the state attorney general's office in the white-collar crime division. Justin Thorne, as I live and breathe, David said. Must be 5 years since we've talked at least? How's the family? Growing. 3rd kid on the way. You still with Sarah? For now, I said, the words tasting bitter. Listen, I need some advice. Hypothetically speaking. Oh boy. Nothing good ever follows those words, but go ahead. If someone discovered evidence of construction, fraud substituting materials, falsifying historical preservation documents, that kind of thing, how would they report it? Hypothetically. David was quiet for a moment. This about Sterling Development by any chance? I nearly dropped the phone. How did you... We've had complaints before, nothing solid enough to build a case on. Thorne is careful, and he's got friends in the city planning offices. Scott lowered his voice. But if someone had actual documentation, hypothetically, they might then, hypothetically, they should gather as much as possible without breaking any laws, then bring it to my office directly, not the local authorities. Understand? I understood perfectly. Thanks for the advice, counselor. Jake, David said before hanging up, whatever you're involved in, be careful. Thorne isn't someone to mess with lightly. Little did David know, I wasn't messing with Marcus Thorne lightly. I was going to destroy him, methodically, completely, and he would never see it coming. I threw myself into the Beaux-Arts building, every night after my regular jobs, every weekend. Sarah stopped asking where I was going. She was working late more often anyway. Daniel helped me with the financials, setting up a separate business account for what I was now calling Thorne Restoration and Design. My buddy Chris, a structural engineer, pitched in with the initial assessments and calculations, working at cost in exchange for me designing the extension on his new home. You're really going all in on this, huh? Chris asked one Saturday as we surveyed the decaying grand staircase. It's either this or go crazy, I admitted. Trouble at home? He wasn't just asking to be nosy. Chris and I had been friends since college. I hesitated, then told him what I'd seen at the holiday party. That son of a... Chris growled. Want me to help you break his legs? I laughed. The first genuine laugh I'd had in weeks. Tempting, but no, I've got something better in mind. What's that? Living well, I said, and maybe a little karma along the way. What I didn't tell Chris was about the documentation I was quietly gathering. Every contractor, every supplier, every former employee who'd ever worked with Sterling Development had a story. And many had kept paperwork, either as insurance or because they felt guilty about the corners they'd been forced to cut. I was building two things simultaneously, a business and a case. Both required patience, attention to detail, and strategic planning. While Marcus Thorne lived large in his penthouse apartment with his company cars and tailored suits, I was working 16-hour days, sleeping on a cot in the Beaux-Arts building some nights. But every piece of facade I restored, every bit of evidence I collected, was a step toward my new life. During this time, Sarah and I existed in a Cold War state. We shared meals, occasionally went through the motions of marriage for Leo's sake, but the distance between us grew daily. Sarah's absences became more frequent, her excuses more elaborate. It's a 3-day conference in Boston, she told me one Thursday night while packing a small suitcase. Marcus says it's crucial for the Olympus project. I'm sure it is, I replied without looking up from my blueprints. Give Marcus my best. Her hand stilled on the suitcase. What's that supposed to mean? Exactly what I said. I finally looked at her, keeping my expression neutral. Send my regards to your boss. That's the polite thing to do, isn't it? She zipped her suitcase with more force than necessary. I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but I don't like it. Funny, I thought to myself. I was thinking the same about you. After she left, I sat down with Leo to explain that Mommy was away for work and that we would have a daddy-son weekend. Can we camp in the big old building? He asked excitedly. I'd taken him there a few times, carefully supervising him in the partially renovated structure. Not for sleeping, Pumpkin, but we can work on it together tomorrow after school. While Leo was in bed, I made one more call. To Victor Stone, the structural integrity inspector whose signature appeared on all of Sterling's fraudulent permits. I'd found his number through a mutual acquaintance who owed me a favor. Mr. Stone, I said when he answered. My name is Justin Thorne. I'm an architect in the city. Thorne, he sounded uncertain. Don't think I know you. No reason you should, but I know quite a bit about you. Specifically, about your relationship with Sterling Development. Silence fell on the line. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. I have copies of structural reports you signed off on for projects where substandard materials were used. Projects that wouldn't pass a legitimate inspection. Is this some kind of shakedown? His voice rose. Because if it is, it's not, I interrupted. I don't want your money. I want information. I'm hanging up now. Before you do, I said quickly, you should know I'm not the only one with copies of those documents. If anything happens to me, they go straight to the state attorney general's office. More silence. Then, what do you want? Everything you know about Marcus Thorne's operation. Who else is involved? How deep it goes? How long it's been happening? Why should I tell you anything? Because I'm giving you a chance to get ahead of this, I said, keeping my voice level. When, not if, this all comes crashing down, the first person to cooperate usually gets the best deal. Stone sighed heavily. Meet me tomorrow. The Skyline Cafe. 7 a.m. Come alone. When I arrived at the Skyline Cafe the next morning, Stone was already there, nursing a cup of black coffee, looking like he hadn't slept. He was older than I expected, maybe in his late 50s, with the worn look of a man carrying a heavy burden. I've been doing this for 15 years, he said without preamble as I slid into the booth across from him. Not just for Sterling, for half a dozen companies. It started small, overlooking minor issues, giving contractors a break on deadlines. Then it escalated. To outright fraud, I finished. He nodded miserably. Thorne is the worst of them. Nothing's ever enough. He keeps pushing the envelope, cutting deeper corners, taking bigger risks. And my wife, Sarah Thorne, what's her role in all this? Stone looked surprised. Your wife works for Thorne? I'm sorry, man. She handles the documentation, right? The paperwork submissions? I nodded. Then she knows. Maybe not everything, but enough. Thorne doesn't keep people around who don't play ball. The confirmation hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd already known it in my gut. Sarah wasn't just sleeping with Marcus. She was complicit in his crimes. What changed your mind? I asked. Why are you willing to talk now? Stone stared into his coffee. My granddaughter. She and her husband just bought their first home, a new build by Sterling. Every time I visit them, I wonder what's lurking behind those walls. What might fail when they have kids running around? He looked up at me, eyes haunted. I can't do it anymore. Would you be willing to make a statement to the authorities? Not yet, he said quickly. But I'll give you names, dates, details. Maybe that'll be enough to start an investigation without me. It was more than enough. By the time I left the Skyline Cafe, I had 3 pages of notes and a thumb drive Stone had kept as insurance. Combined with what I'd already gathered, it was the foundation of a case that would bring Marcus Thorne to his knees. Karma came calling sooner than I expected. A month into my restoration project, I was at the lumber yard picking up specialty timbers when I overheard a conversation that made me stop cold. Yeah, another Sterling job, said a contractor I recognized as one of Marcus's regular subcontractors. Thorne wants us to use the grade B lumber but bill the client for premium. Same as always. Man's going to get himself in trouble one of these days, said the clerk. Not as long as everyone's getting paid, the contractor replied with a wink. I stepped around the corner. Couldn't help overhearing. You work Sterling jobs often? The contractor eyed me suspiciously. Who's asking? Justin Thorne. I'm restoring the old Beaux-Arts building on Elm Street. Oh yeah, I've driven by. Nice project. His posture relaxed. Yeah, I do most of their framing. Why? Just curious about their operations. My wife works there. Oh yeah, who's your wife? Sarah Thorne. Richard's assistant. His eyes widened slightly. Oh, right. Yeah, she handles a lot of the paperwork. The way he said it told me everything. Sarah wasn't just sleeping with Marcus. She was in on his schemes. So this grade B material being billed as premium, that happened a lot? He shrugged. Business as usual for Sterling. Look, I gotta go. He hurried off, but I'd heard enough. That night, I called my old friend, Tyler Blake. He'd left architectural design years ago to become a building inspector for the city. Tyler, it's Justin. I need a favor. Tyler's response was immediate. Name it. I need you to look into something unofficially. Sterling Development's materials versus what they're billing for. Thorne's outfit? I've had my suspicions for years, but he's careful. Always has his pet inspector, Victor Stone, sign off on everything. What if I told you I have evidence and that Stone might be willing to talk? Tyler was silent for a moment. That would change everything. But Justin, why are you involved in this? I took a deep breath. It's personal. Sarah, I said, understanding immediately. Tyler had been at our wedding. Shit, man. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be thorough. I want this airtight. What happened next unfolded more quickly than I'd anticipated. Tyler took my evidence to his supervisor, who recognized its significance immediately. Within days, a quiet investigation was underway, with the state attorney general's office involved from the start to avoid any local interference from Marcus's connections. As the investigation gained momentum, I kept my head down and focused on the Beaux-Arts building. But Marcus, with his network of cronies, must have caught wind that something was brewing. One morning, I arrived at the Beaux-Arts building to find the front door kicked in and the interior vandalized. Fresh plaster smashed, restored molding ripped from the walls, new windows shattered. Standing in the wreckage, I felt a cold fury building inside me. This wasn't just about Sarah anymore. This was direct intimidation. I called the police, filed a report, and then made one more call to David at the AG's office. "They're getting nervous," I told him. "This is a message. Document everything," David advised. "And Justin, watch your back. If Thorne is willing to vandalize property, he might not stop there." That night, a black SUV cruised slowly past my house 3 times. I sat on the porch in the darkness, a heavy wrench beside me, daring them to make a move. They didn't, but the message was clear. Marcus knew I was involved. Instead of intimidating me, it only hardened my resolve. The next day, I installed security cameras at both the Beaux-Arts building and my home. I also hired 2 off-duty officers as security for the renovation site, a necessary expense that cut into my profits but ensured the work could continue. Word about the vandalism spread quickly through our small town. What Marcus hadn't counted on was the backlash. Contractors who had remained silent about Sterling's practices began reaching out to me, offering additional evidence, volunteering labor to repair the damage to the Beaux-Arts building, standing in solidarity against the bullying tactics. By the end of the week, I had more help than I could manage, and the Beaux-Arts building's restoration was back on track, progressing even faster than before. Marcus's attempt to intimidate me had backfired spectacularly, turning a personal vendetta into a community cause. Meanwhile, the Beaux-Arts building was coming together beautifully. I'd hired 2 skilled craftsmen who had been laid off from another construction company. They were grateful for the work, and I was grateful for their craftsmanship. Word was starting to spread about the quality of our restoration. One evening, I was at the Beaux-Arts building late, measuring for custom millwork in what would be the main gallery when headlights swept across the windows. A car had pulled into the driveway. I tensed, wondering if Marcus had somehow gotten wind of my involvement in the investigation. But it was Sarah who walked through the front door, looking around in wonder at the transformation already taking place. "So this is where you've been disappearing to," she said, running her hand along a newly restored marble balustrade. "I had to ask around town to find it." "What are you doing here, Sarah?" "I wanted to see it. See what was so important that you've barely been home for weeks." She continued moving through the house, examining the details, the craftsmanship. "It's beautiful work, Justin. I'd forgotten how talented you are." "Thanks," I said, not trusting her sudden appreciation. "Why are you really here?" She turned to face me, her expression serious. "Marcus proposed to me today." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, but I kept my face neutral. "Congratulations." I haven't given him an answer yet. "Why not? Isn't this what you've been working toward? The affair, the late nights, the lies?" Her eyes flashed with anger. "It wasn't like that. It just happened. Things like that It just happened, Sarah. They're choices. Hundreds of small choices that lead to one big betrayal. Like you buying this building without telling me, starting a business behind my back." I had to laugh at the comparison. "I'm not sleeping with this building, Sarah. I'm investing in my future. A future I'm increasingly certain doesn't include you. So that's it? 9 years of marriage and you're just giving up?" "I'm not the one who gave up," I said quietly. "You did that the moment you decided Marcus Thorne was worth betraying everything we built together." She moved closer to me. Her perfume, the expensive kind Marcus probably bought her, filled my senses. "We could start over. I could tell Marcus no. We could go to counseling, try again." For the briefest moment, I wavered. The familiar pull of her, the memory of happier times, the thought of keeping our family intact for Leo's sake. But then I remembered the look on her face when she came home from the holiday party, how easily the lies had flowed, how complicit she was in Marcus's schemes. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not interested in being your backup plan, Sarah. Not anymore. Her expression hardened. You'll regret this when I'm Mrs. Marcus Thorne, living in a penthouse while you're still getting plaster dust under your fingernails. Better honest plaster dust than dishonest luxury, I replied. Does Marcus know about the state investigation yet? Her face went pale. What investigation? The one into Sterling's fraudulent practices, the substituted materials, the falsified permits, the cooked books. It's all coming to light, Sarah, and soon. You're lying, Justin, she whispered. But the fear in her eyes told me she knew it was true. Go home, I said. And whatever you decide about Marcus's proposal, you might want to consult a lawyer first. You're going to need one. She fled without another word. I stood in the empty Beaux-Arts building, surrounded by the honest work of my hands, and felt a strange peace settle over me. The confrontation I'd been dreading for months was finally over, and I was still standing. 2 days later, I was having lunch with Tyler when Marcus Thorne himself walked into the diner. The busy restaurant fell silent as he spotted me and made a beeline for our table. Thorne, he said, his voice tight with controlled anger, I think it's time we had a chat. Tyler started to stand, but I put a hand on his arm. It's fine, this was bound to happen eventually. Marcus pulled up a chair, uninvited. Up close, he looked worse than I expected. His usually impeccable appearance marred by dark circles under his eyes and a rumpled suit. Whatever game you're playing, it stops now, he said, leaning in close. I built this city, Thorne. I've got friends in places you can't imagine. Is that why you sent someone to trash my property? Because of all your important friends? I kept my voice calm, aware that every eye in the diner was on us. I don't know what you're talking about, he scoffed, but his eyes shifted away. Sure you do, just like you know about the investigation. Just like you know your empire of lies is crumbling. I leaned forward. How's it feel, Marcus, watching everything you built fall apart? His face flushed with anger. You think you're so clever? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Actually, I do. I'm dealing with a fraud who cuts corners, cheats clients, and sleeps with other men's wives. I smiled coldly. And soon, everyone else will know too. Marcus's hands shot out, grabbing my shirt front. You son of a... I didn't flinch. Go ahead, Marcus. Make a scene. Add assault to your growing list of problems. For a moment, I thought he might actually hit me. Then, awareness of our audience seemed to penetrate his rage. He released my shirt, standing abruptly. This isn't over, he hissed. You're right about that, I agreed. It's just beginning. As he stormed out, conversation slowly resumed around us. Tyler looked at me with new respect. Damn, Justin. I've never seen anyone stand up to Thorne like that. I shrugged, but inside I felt 10 feet tall. Bullies only have power when you're afraid of them. And I'm not afraid of Marcus Thorne. Not anymore. The Sterling development scandal broke 3 weeks later. An anonymous tip not from me, actually. Turns out Marcus had made plenty of enemies. It led to inspections of their recent projects. The substitution of substandard materials was just the beginning. There were permit violations, code issues, even some creative accounting that caught the attention of the IRS. The local paper ran the story on the front page. I watched Sarah's face as she read it over breakfast. This is a witch hunt, she said, her voice shaking. Marcus would never... Save it, Sarah. I cut her off. We both know what kind of man Marcus Thorne is. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw real fear there. Of anything. What do you mean? I mean, I know everything. The affair, the fraud, all of it. She dropped the newspaper. Justin, I stood up. I don't want to hear it. Not in front of Leo. Our son was in the living room, blissfully unaware as he watched Saturday morning cartoons. We need to talk about this, Sarah hissed. We will. But right now I'm going to work. Work meant the Beaux-Arts building, which was coming along beautifully. The exterior was restored to its original glory. The inside modernized while preserving its historic charm. I'd already had 2 offers from interested buyers, even before it was finished. While Sterling development was imploding, Thorne restoration and design was taking flight. I'd hired 2 workers, good men who'd been laid off when Marcus's company started losing contracts. Word was getting around about my work, my attention to detail, my honesty with clients. One afternoon, a luxury sedan pulled up to the Beaux-Arts building. A well-dressed man in his 60s stepped out, looking appreciatively at the restored facade. Mr. Thorne, he called. Got a minute to talk? His name was Edward Hayes, a prominent local developer with a reputation for high-end, ethical projects. He'd heard about my work and wanted to see it firsthand. "Impressive," he said, as I showed him through the house. "Very impressive. You have an eye for preserving character while making spaces livable for modern families." "Thank you, sir. That's exactly what I aim for." He handed me his card. "I'm developing a new neighborhood on the old Riverbend estate. 15 historic homes that need this kind of careful restoration. I've been looking for the right contractor, someone who values quality over cutting corners." He looked me directly in the eyes. Someone who isn't Marcus Thorne. My heart raced. This was the kind of opportunity that could establish Thorne Restoration and Design as a premier company in the region. "I'd be very interested in discussing that project, Mr. Hayes." "Good. Come to my office Monday morning and bring your portfolio. If the rest of your work matches this, I think we'll have a lot to talk about." That evening, Sarah was waiting when I got home. Leo was at a sleepover with a friend. "Marcus was arrested today," she said, her eyes red from crying. "They're saying it's fraud, tax evasion. Justin, they came to the office and took all our files. They questioned everyone, including me." "And what did you tell them?" I kept my voice neutral. That I didn't know anything? She was pacing now. "And I didn't. Not about the illegal stuff. But you knew he was cutting corners, substituting materials?" She stopped. "How did you?" Everyone knew, Sarah. The whole city. The only question was when it would catch up to him. It wasn't like that. He was trying to keep the business afloat during tough times. By cheating his clients? By putting people in unsafe homes? My calm was slipping. "And what was your excuse for cheating on me? Was that for the good of the company too?" She sank onto the couch, her defiance crumbling. "You knew? I saw you at the holiday party in his office." "Well, Justin, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. 3 months of late nights didn't mean anything. The whispered phone calls, the way you pulled away every time I touched you." I shook my head. "Don't insult me by lying now." "What are you going to do?" she whispered. "I already did it, Sarah. I rebuilt my life while you were tearing ours down." Her head snapped up. "Was it you? Did you report Marcus?" "Number turns out I didn't have to. When you build a business on lies, it eventually collapses under its own weight." I told her about the Beaux-Arts building, about Thorne Restoration and Design, about the offers I'd already received. I told her I'd be moving out the following week and about my meeting with Edward Hayes. "You've been planning this all along," she accused, anger replacing her tears, "setting yourself up while watching Marcus and me fall." "I've been building something honest," I corrected her. "Something I can be proud of. Something Leo can be proud of." "You can't take Leo," she said immediately. "I'm not taking him, but I'm not giving him up either. We'll work out a custody arrangement." "And us?" Her voice was small. "There is no us anymore, Sarah. You made sure of that." The Beaux-Arts building sold for twice what I'd invested. I bought a smaller house closer to Leo's school and set up my business office in the converted garage. 6 months after leaving my marital home, Thorne Restoration and Design had 8 full-time employees and a contract with Edward Hayes that would keep us busy for the next 2 years. The Hayes project became our signature achievement, featured in regional architectural magazines and bringing in clients from neighboring states. I was no longer just Justin the architect. I was Justin Thorne, restoration specialist, known for integrity and craftsmanship. Marcus Thorne was sentenced to 5 years for fraud and tax evasion. Sterling Development was dissolved, its assets sold to cover debts. Sarah lost her job and her lover in one fell swoop. She called me one night, her voice slurred from wine. "He said he loved me," she sobbed. "He said we would be together after you and I divorced. But as soon as things got tough, he blamed everything on me. Said I was the one who kept the records, that I should have known. His lawyer even suggested I was the mastermind." "Were you?" I asked. "Of course not. I just did what he told me to do." "Like you always do," I said softly. She was quiet for a moment. "I miss you, Justin. I miss our family. I miss what we had. I miss what we had too, but it's gone. It doesn't have to be. We could try again, for Leo's sake. Leo deserves parents who respect each other, who are honest with each other." "I can change," she insisted. "So can I. So have I sighed. "That's the point, Sarah. We're not the same people anymore." The final twist in our story came unexpectedly. Sarah, facing possible charges as an accessory to Marcus's crimes, made a deal with prosecutors. In exchange for her testimony and full cooperation, she received probation instead of jail time. What she revealed went beyond what even I had uncovered. Marcus's fraud extended to political connections, bribes to local officials, and a network of corrupt inspectors beyond just Victor Stone. The scandal widened, reaching into the mayor's office and the city zoning board. Through it all, I kept my head down and focused on my business, on being a good father to Leo during my custody days, and on building a new life. I'd begun dating Chloe Davis, an interior designer who worked with me on the Hayes project. We kept it professional at work, but there was an undeniable connection between us. On a crisp fall afternoon, a year after the holiday party that changed everything, I stood in the gleaming kitchen of a fully restored 1920s craftsman bungalow, my latest project and biggest success yet. Leo was with Sarah for the weekend. Chloe was arranging flowers on the island for the open house tomorrow. "Earth to Justin," she said, waving her hand in front of my face. "Where'd you go just now?" "Just thinking about how much has changed in a year." She wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. "For the better, I hope?" I turned to face her. "Definitely for the better." The doorbell rang. Probably the photographer I'd hired to take pictures for the listing. Instead, I opened the door to find Sarah standing there. "I need to talk to you," she said, then stopped when she saw Chloe. "Oh, I didn't realize you had company." "Chloe Davis, this is Sarah Thorne, my ex-wife," I said, keeping my voice level. "Sarah, this is Chloe, my girlfriend and business partner." Sarah's smile was brittle. "How nice. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's important. About Leo." Chloe squeezed my arm. "I'll go check on the upstairs bathroom fixtures. Take your time." When she was gone, Sarah's facade dropped. "Girlfriend and business partner? That was fast." "It's been a year, Sarah. What's going on with Leo?" "He's fine. That was just an excuse." She looked around the kitchen. "This place is beautiful. Thank you. Is there something you actually needed?" She took a deep breath. "Marcus's sentencing was finalized yesterday. He got 4 years, eligible for parole in 2. I know, it was in the paper. What you don't know is that he gave the prosecutors information about everyone involved with Sterling." Her voice shook, including me. I stared at her. "What are you saying?" "They're charging me as an accessory. My lawyer says I'll probably get probation, maybe a few months at most. But," she started to cry, "Justin, I can't go to jail." "What about Leo?" The old me would have rushed to comfort her, to fix her problems. The new me stood my ground. "What exactly do you want from me, Sarah?" "A character witness. Someone to testify that I was just following orders. That I'm a good mother, a good person who made a mistake." I almost laughed. "After everything, you want me to lie for you?" "It's not lying. I am a good mother and I did make a mistake. The biggest one of my life. Losing you." Through the window, I could see Chloe in the backyard, measuring the patio for furniture. My new life. Honest and full of potential. Sarah represented everything I left behind. The lies, the betrayal, the person I used to be. "I can't do that," I said finally. "I won't lie for you, not even to keep you out of jail. That's what got you into this mess in the first place. Lies built on lies. You want me to go to prison, the mother of your child? I don't want anything bad for you, Sarah. But your choices have consequences. Mine did too. The difference is, I chose to rebuild. You chose to keep lying." Her face hardened. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Seeing me suffer while you play house with your new girlfriend? I'm not enjoying any of it, but I'm not responsible for your choices either. You'll regret this," she said, turning to leave. "When Leo asks why you let her mother go to jail, what will you tell her?" "The truth. Always the truth." After she left, Chloe came back inside. "Everything okay?" I pulled her close. "It will be, in the end. Sarah didn't go to jail. Her cooperation with the broader investigation earned her leniency. 3 years probation and community service. Marcus, from his prison cell, tried to appeal his sentence by claiming Sarah was equally culpable, but no one believed him anymore. The most unexpected turn came 6 months later when the county announced plans to audit all homes built by Sterling Development over the past decade for potential safety issues. Thorne Restoration and Design was among 5 companies selected to perform the inspections and necessary repairs, funded by the sale of Marcus's seized assets. It was a strange feeling walking through homes Marcus had built, identifying and fixing the corners he'd cut, making things right for families who had unknowingly been put at risk. It wasn't just business. It was redemption. Not just for me, but for the whole community. One evening, as I inspected a home's foundation, the owner, a young father with two small children, asked me, "How did you know about Thorne and his fraud?" I thought about Sarah, about the holiday party, about all the choices that had led me here. "Let's just say I learned the hard way that some things aren't built to last," I replied. "But with the right materials and honest work, almost anything can be restored." The hardest part was explaining to Leo why his parents weren't together, why his mother was in legal trouble, why everything had changed. I never spoke ill of Sarah to our son, but I didn't shield him from age-appropriate truths either. "Sometimes adults make mistakes," I told him one night as I tucked him into bed at my new house. "Big mistakes that hurt people they love. The important thing is what you do after the mistake, whether you try to fix it or whether you keep making it worse." "Is that what mommy did? Made a mistake worse?" I chose my words carefully. "Your mom got caught up in something bad, and she didn't know how to get out, but she's trying to fix it now." "And you, Daddy, did you make mistakes too?" "I did," I admitted. "I wasn't always the best husband or father, but I'm trying to be better every day." He seemed satisfied with that, wrapping his arms around my neck in a fierce hug. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, Pumpkin, more than anything." Edward Hayes' project was completed ahead of schedule, under budget, and to universal acclaim. Thorne Restoration and Design was featured in Architectural Digest, bringing in high-end clients from across the Southeast. I was building a legacy of quality and integrity, the exact opposite of Marcus Thorne's crumbling empire of lies. Chloe and I moved in together after dating for a year. She brought warmth and light back into my life in ways I hadn't thought possible after Sarah's betrayal. We talked about marriage sometimes, but we were in no rush. We were building something solid, something true. Sarah eventually found work at a small accounting firm, humbled by her fall from grace but slowly rebuilding her own life. For Leo's sake, we established a civil co-parenting relationship, though the trust between us was irreparably broken. And Marcus? He served his time, was released after 3 years, and left town. His reputation destroyed, his fortune gone. I heard he was working as a site manager for a construction company in another state. A dramatic fall for a man who once owned the biggest firm in the city. One spring afternoon, as I stood on the porch of our home, watching Leo and Chloe plant flowers in the garden, I reflected on the journey of the past 2 years. From betrayal to redemption, from anger to peace. Sarah had been right about one thing, though not in the way she meant it. Revenge did taste sweeter than love, not because I'd actively sought to destroy her, but because I'd refused to be destroyed. I'd rebuilt myself stronger and better than before. Sometimes, living well truly is the best revenge.